okay, I see what's really good. You're trying to eliminate the competition, you know, because at first you retire, you know, then get me off the label. Now you're back rapping again.
After everything I've done for you, after always having your back, why wipe me out? After everything I've done for you, you gonna sit there with a life raft and watch me drown? After everything I did for you, you not gonna talk to me?
I felt that Jay-Z, Beanie Sigel was the
Yeah, he was fire.
And they would only let Beanie Sigel only sell so many records. This came from an executive. But Benny, you couldn't be bigger than Jay-Z on Jay-Z's label.
The hip-hop world is buzzing with shocking revelations as former Rockefeller artist Beanie Sigel drops bombshell accusations against music mogul Jay-Z. In a recent tell-all interview that's taken social media by storm, Sigel pulled back the curtain on what he claims was happening behind closed doors during his time at the legendary label. The timing couldn't be more controversial, as Jay-Z is already dealing with unwanted attention from his alleged connection to ongoing industry scandals. What makes these accusations particularly explosive is that they paint a completely different picture of the rap icon than what we've been shown for decades. According to Sigel's detailed account, the man who built an empire wasn't just making business moves. He was allegedly orchestrating the downfall of artists he viewed as potential rivals, and he's not alone in these claims. Since the interview dropped, multiple industry veterans have stepped forward, suggesting that the carefully crafted image of hip-hop's golden boy might be masking some uncomfortable truths.
To hold me back.
Sources claim that attempts have been made to keep this story under wraps, but Sigel appears determined to share his experience, regardless of the consequences. As this story continues to unfold, we're about to dive deep into what could be one of hip-hop's most revealing industry exposés. Fresh developments have emerged in the ongoing industry controversy as Beanie Sigel opens up about previous statements made by Dame Dash. During a candid conversation last month, Dame had revealed troubling insights about calculated moves that supposedly hindered rising stars under the label's umbrella.
Beans was getting ready. We thought he was going to go to jail for a couple years. He was on trial. So I was trying to make Jay.
Dame expressed how he'd envisioned Sigel as the torchbearer for their musical empire's future. Unfortunately, misplaced faith in leadership proved costly. What appeared as mentorship from Jay masked what some describe as calculated interference with potential success. Speaking for the first time on these revelations, Sigel acknowledged overlooking Dame's genuine support while chasing false promises.
Dame actually came and got me when I got out of prison. We was on a tour bus and they was interviewing me. And they asked me then and there on a bus. Now I'm just getting out of prison. Like he at the jail picked me up. And they posed that question that I was, or made the statement that I was going to be with Dame Dash Music Group. And I said then that I didn't want to make that choice. I believe if we had those conversations, I believe I would have rolled with Dame. I'd have rocked with Dame. Yeah, if Dame set me down and he had a plan, regardless what the plan was, and mapped it out like this was going to do, the smartest decision at that time for me would have rolled with Dame, because Dame was more accessible than Jay was. Dame was in the office every day. You could talk to Dame. You know what I mean? Dame used to come and chill on the block in South Philly. You know what I mean? Dame pull up and bags at Mom Duke's spot. So yeah, I think if we would have sat and he would have showed me and explained to me, our business plan and what we was gonna do, That would have been an easy decision.
His recent statements paint a picture of strategic release dates and mysterious market limitations that consistently from reaching its full commercial potential. Industry insiders note suspicious patterns, particularly how Jay's major releases would mysteriously appear whenever momentum built around Sigel's projects. The raw honesty in these new admissions adds weight to growing questions about power dynamics in the music industry and the true nature of loyalty within these high-stakes business relationships. What's particularly striking is how Sigel's accounts align with other stories emerging from artists who experienced similar patterns during their time at the label. Look, Sigel isn't running from his past. He straight up admits that, yeah, his legal problems messed up some opportunities. But here's the thing, he's making it crystal clear that what Jay did was straight up calculated. We're not talking about random business moves or unfortunate timing here.
I don't think one man could destroy another man's life. It's ultimately in your decisions. You know, I had a lot of issues. Like I said, legal issues at the time. And, you know, my mind wasn't where I'm at now today. Like, I used to have questions like why every time my album dropped, Jay would drop right on top. He wouldn't let me breathe or right before me. Like, I was always close. And I never understood that every single album that I dropped, Jay dropped right on top. I was like, damn, like to have in-house competition at that magnitude was crazy. Jay already the boss, but I always thought that, like, let me breathe.
According to Sigel, Jay knew exactly what he was doing. This wasn't just bad luck or poor management. This was strategic. Think about it. Even when Sigel was on point, focused, and ready to blow up, something would always mysteriously get in the way. And now he's saying that Jay was pulling those strings the whole time. What makes this hit different is that Sigel isn't just throwing blind accusations. He's owning up to his part in the story, but he's also calling out Jay for playing these behind-the-scenes games. When someone's willing to admit their own mistakes but still points the finger at you, that hits different. It makes you wonder what else was happening at that label that we don't know about. And let's be real, if what Sigel's saying is true, this adds a whole new layer to Jay's reputation as a chess player in the industry. Maybe he wasn't just playing chess with his competitors, he was playing it with his own artist. Let's take it back to when Rockefeller was running things in the late 90s. The label was hot, but they needed that authentic street voice. That's where Beanie Sigel came in. When he stepped into the picture in '99, it was like the missing piece of the puzzle. The raw energy he brought, man, it was exactly what they needed. The truth drops in 2000, and boom, instant impact. Sigel wasn't just making noise, he was making waves. The streets loved him, critics respected him, and it seemed like the start of something big. But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't supposed to be just another business deal. Nah, this was presented as family. Sigel was putting in serious work too. We're talking about a man who was literally living in the studio, making that Philly to New York run multiple times a week, sleeping on couches, keeping fresh clothes in the whip. For a whole month straight, he was grinding, especially during the Dynasty sessions. Every time Jay laid down a verse, Sigel was right there, pen moving, contributing, creating. Back then, young Sigel thought he'd found his people, his team. When he talks about those early days now, you can hear the realness in his voice. He truly believed in that brotherhood with Jay. Man was convinced he'd found a genuine ally in the industry, someone who'd stick by him through thick and thin. Looking back now though, that faith might have been his biggest mistake. Man, when you hear Sigel talk about those Rockefeller days, it hits differently. Coming from South Philly, where trust was scarce and betrayal was common, he thought he'd finally found something real. This is the first honest thing I've ever been part of, he'd say. And you can hear the raw emotion in those words. The streets he came from, man, they were brutal. We're talking about a place where folks would pray with you one minute and plot on you the next, where loyalty was as rare as gold. So when Sigel found Rockefeller, found that La Familia vibe, he held on to it like a lifeline. For him, this wasn't just business, it was everything. Music, family, purpose, all wrapped into one. He wasn't thinking about contracts or career moves. In his mind, he'd found his people, his tribe. They got me, he'd say, thinking they just wanted him to focus on the music while they handled everything else. Early 2000s, Sigel was on fire. State Property wasn't just a rap group, it was becoming an empire. Clothing line, check. Movies, check. He was helping build something bigger than himself. But then 2004 hits, and everything starts crumbling. The tension between Jay and Dame was getting thick. And there's Sigel, caught in the crossfire. Here's a man who believed in family above all, watching his family tear itself apart. Now that's a prime example of being stuck between a rock and a hard place. After that, Sigel's world starts crumbling when the feds come knocking. We're talking heavy charges here, the kind that could put a man away for decades. The prosecutors hit him with this wild offer, 18 to 36 years. Like, imagine that. Of course, he said no.
Weapons violations, attempted. They try and get a boy 20 to 40 years. They came to me with a deal. Their deal was 18 to 36 years. Of course, I turned it down. Thought this was America, people. Guilty until proven innocent, huh?
Now here's where it gets heartbreaking. Sigel was in court, fighting for his freedom, while his family was out there touring. The judge is hearing all these character witnesses, dames speaking up, others too. Even Jay says some nice things. It's looking good, right? The judge is considering letting him out on monitoring.
So at that time, when, I'm going to court, and we about to be on tour. We on tour. So a whole nother tour. Yeah, we on a whole nother tour. So, I'm going for my bail hearing in the feds. And the judge asked Jay, everybody's saying all these good things and all that. The character witnesses, Dame, and everybody's saying, and even Jay said a whole lot of good things about me, and the judge was gonna let me go. Monitor. And she said, would you be willing, and that's the part that people don't, would you be willing to be responsible for his whereabouts, not be responsible for my actions, just his whereabouts? Would you be willing to do that? Provide us with all the information, saying that he's going to be here, there. And after all that good, and he said no, but it was like the way he said it, and he put his head down, he was like, no, I've never been crushed like that ever in my life. Cause I'm like, damn, this is my man, like and I looked at it like, all right, no. What if I had to get the I'm in jail, I'm still tall, all my but what if I really needed to go? This was going in my mind. Like, get out of jail, you say? Bro, I had attempted in the state and the federal gun charge and all this. Dude, 40 years, it's over. This is what I'm facing, 40 years. Right. What if in my mind, I'm thinking like, damn, what if I really need to roll? Be on a run and go. Like, I'm from this my man and I love you. If he skipped that, I'm getting my man, I'm getting him out by any means necessary. So for me to look him in his eyes and I'm shackled around the wrist, ankles and everything, and the man was like, oh. Like that was that I don't know, like that was that up. It took everything in me not to let one go. Like that took away a lot of I thought that we had. Like that's big, bro.
But then comes the moment that changed everything. The judge asks Jay one simple question. Would you just keep track of where he'll be? Not take responsibility for what he does. Just let them know his schedule. After all that talk about family, after all those years of loyalty, after everything they built together, Jay just looks down and says, no. Man, hearing Sigel tell this story, you can still hear the pain in his voice. I've never been crushed like that, he says. Think about it. You're sitting there in court, looking at the person you thought was your brother, the one you rode so hard for, and he can't even do this one thing. Meanwhile, Sigel's still trying to handle his business from behind bars, still trying to stay loyal. That no wasn't just an answer. It was the moment the whole La Familia facade came crashing down. Like just imagine sitting there in chains, looking at someone you'd ride or die for, and realizing they wouldn't do the same. Sigel's mind was racing. Here he is facing 40 years, and the thought hits him, what if I needed to run? Because in his mind, if the roles were reversed, he wouldn't think twice about helping his brother out. That's just who he was. Meanwhile, Dame's out here showing what real loyalty looks like. Dude was catching flat tires at 5 a.m., rushing to make it to court, doing whatever it takes to stand by his man. He's our brother, Dame would say, and he meant that stuff. But what's Jay doing? He's off orchestrating his retirement, dropping the Black Album, playing industry chess while his supposed brother is fighting for his freedom. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Then, the Becoming drops in. 05, straight fire, recorded while Sigel's fighting the case of his life. But where's the support? Nowhere to be found. Instead, we're hearing stories about artists getting paid peanuts for shows, having to split $1,250 between them, while the big homies counting serious paper.
In the house for house arrest, and I got the young guns calling my phone because Jay-Z's only paying them $1,205 $50 or whatever it is, $1,200 a show, and they had to split it at the end of the day, like shows where we went on. His was supposed to be promos, but checks, man, that he was making, but it was just that's us paying dues. It was a good look. So all the glitz and glamours wasn't like really what people seem like.
By 2009, all that bottled up pain and betrayal finally exploded with "What You Talking About?" But let's be real, this wasn't just another diss track. This was years of hurt, years of watching someone you thought was family turn their back on you, all coming out in verses. The streets were watching all this unfold, seeing how loyalty really works in this industry. One man's showing up to court every day, flat tires and all, while another can't even be bothered to help with whereabouts. That tells you everything you need to know. And then stuff started getting insane. Listen to what went down at Powerhouse, and this is wild. Sigel finds out there's this whole newspaper article claiming he's some kind of threat to Jay-Z. The Philadelphia Daily News is reporting that Jay's getting into it with security because they're worried about retaliation from Beanie. The crazy part? Sigel wasn't even at the event.
So my question is, did Jay really call up them people? Just need to know to add them to the infested extermination list.
Listen. Before I even got there to the building, you gotta understand this. It's all documented. This year's Powerhouse, Jay came last year. In the Philadelphia Daily News, the day after the Powerhouse, it had an article. And I didn't even go to the Powerhouse last year. It had an article in it. Inside sources say Jay-Z beats up security and threat that retaliation from Beanie Sigel for dropping him from the label.
This was in the newspaper.
It's in the paper. It's public record. Go, it's $20. You can search it and find it. It's public record. That was last year. So when I'm reading, it's like, damn, what the I mean, inside sources say.
Right.
Where that come from? I ain't never see the Powerhouse where they got boot cops walking around with canines and go on the internet, Google it. Bernard Hopkins was there. I didn't even know Bernard was there.
Right.
Go to allhiphop.com. He confirms it.
So there you are, just like the song says.
Yeah,
front
because
row.
what happened was, I stood right in the, and because they made suites. When I came in the building, and people was going in the back and all that, where the dressing rooms was at. We was standing in the back, me and my peoples or whatever. Bleak come out with 5 bodyguards. What's up, C? No, what's going on? Damn, what's up? What you doing? Go back there, Jay. Come on, let's go back there. And you keep on moving the conversation, and you don't want to go back there. Your bodyguard's there, and I don't got no, you know what I mean, the pass. He was like, man, you need to come holler at the big hump. Man, dude, don't me. I ain't going back there. That's what I told him. Big homie, don't me.
Think about how bizarre this is. They've got police dogs patrolling the place, extra security everywhere, all because of some inside sources claiming Beanie's a threat. Even boxing champion Bernard Hopkins, who was there that night, confirmed all this extra security was in place. You can look it up on allhiphop.com. It's all documented. Then it gets even crazier. Sigel shows up to another event, and here comes Gleek, Jay's people, rolling deep with 5 bodyguards. They're trying to pressure Sigel to go talk to Jay in the back, but Siegel's not stupid. He's like, I'm not going back there with all your security while I'm by myself. He straight up tells them, big homie, don't me. Now here's where it gets real interesting. When Jay's asked about all this drama in an interview, how does he respond? Does he address any of these specific incidents? Nah. Instead, he tries to brush it off like Beanie's just some ungrateful dude who's complaining. His big defense? Well, Beanie had 2 Bentleys at the time.
Beanie Sigel is complaining a lot these days.
Well, he has a lot to complain about.
I know.
Not me.
Well, actually, this morning I just got a brand new interview. It's half an hour long, and he's talking basically about you, about the company, about basically how you didn't push him as much as, let's say, 50 Cent pushed some of his boys. How do you feel about that?
Well, Beanie Sigel at the time, and you can look it up if you like, but just to be honest, was driving 2 Bentleys. I don't know how. It's impossible to drive 2 cars at one time. With his mama in the sticks and selling 800,000 records. I don't know what more can you do for somebody, at that point. What people choose to do when they attain that type of a success, at some point you have to look in the mirror and look at yourself. Beanie Sigel had a record deal, a record label, and a clothing line. It never went platinum, ever. I don't know, in the history of rap, has anyone done so much with so little? So I don't even know what more can you do for a person at that point. A record deal, that's known. A record label and a clothing line. So that's not pushing a person.
See how weak that response is? Siegel's out here with receipts, newspaper articles, witnesses, specific dates and events. And Jay's comeback is basically, but I bought him nice cars. That's like someone accusing you of betrayal, and your response is, but I got you nice Christmas presents. Then he throws out these numbers. 800,000 records sold, trying to make it sound like Sigel should just be grateful. Classic deflection move. Jay keeps listing off what he gave Beanie. A record deal, a record label, a clothing line. But here's the thing, he's missing the point completely. It's not about what was given, it's about what was taken away through behind-the-scenes moves. This whole situation exposes how surface level some of these industry relationships really are. Jay thought he could buy loyalty with Bentleys, while Sigel was looking for real brotherhood. It's a classic case of money versus principles, and it shows you exactly who valued what. And he's got his fans twisted around his finger so bad that people are still defending him. One fan wrote on X, "These get on these interviews and start lying, and nobody ever gives them any pushback." Jay-Z changed that man's life, and because he refused to take accountability for his own reckless behavior, he blames Jay for how his life career turned out. It's disgusting, another added. And this all stems from Jay refusing in court to be held responsible for Bean's whereabouts while he was facing an attempted charge. Beans had a family and a flourishing rap career, and he threw it all away because he refused to grow up, smarten up, listen to Jay's advice, and leave the streets alone. Beans refused to take accountability for his own reckless behavior, but he expected Jay to. Because of that, he ignored all the good that Jay had done for him, disrespected him publicity, made diss records about him, talked bad about him in interviews, aligned himself with 50 Cent to ridicule Jay, and continues to question Jay's character. When one fan refuted that, the only time their album drops were close was when there was a 2-month duration. Another argued and said how Jay-Z was still in the wrong. He wrote, "Yeah, but in that era, work on music for a very long time and push music for a very long time. So yes, a 2-month period could be seen as getting your shit stepped on, way back then. Today it's same day and I get that, but that's not what music releases were. Then LOL. But hold up, this ain't just a Beanie story. This is where it gets interesting. We've got a whole lineup of heavy hitters who've called Jay out for similar stuff. DMX dropped a bomb when he exposed how Jay played him. X figured it out. Jay's whole retirement thing, just a chess move. First, Jay retires, then makes sure X is off the label, then magically comes back to rap. Pretty convenient, right? Then you've got Dame Dash speaking up. Kanye West has his own issues. It's like a pattern starting to emerge. Each story's different, but they all point to the same thing. Jay allegedly moving like a chess player, but not in a good way. The Irv Gotti and Suge Knight situation really shows the bigger picture. Here they were, trying to build something major. An all-black-owned distribution company. Could have been revolutionary, but somehow that got derailed. And word on the street is Jay and Leor had something to do with it. See, when you put all these stories together, it starts looking less like coincidence and more like a game plan. And that's what's got people talking. It's not just one person's complaint anymore. It's a whole pattern. Yeah, when we talk about all those artists calling Jay out, it goes way deeper than personal beef. This whole thing with Suge Knight's vision shows us exactly what might have been at stake. Suge was trying to create something revolutionary, a real union for hip-hop artists. We're talking healthcare, retirement plans, the whole nine. At the 2002 West Coast Hip Hop Summit, he laid it all out. The plan was brilliant. Labels would front the union dues as part of the recording budget. Artists would pay it back from sales, just like they do with advances. Simple, right? But here's where it connects to everything we've been talking about with Jay and these power moves. While most industry leaders were backing this plan, two major players weren't feeling it. And it's the same names that keep coming up in these stories about artist suppression.
It's how many people want to have a union? How many people want to get together and say, okay, we're going to network. You got a deal at Universal and your points is too low. You got a deal at Universal and they got 100% of your publishing. You got a deal at Sony and you don't own your masters, but it's your artist. Now, I'm gonna tell you one other thing before you guys go. If you really want to know what's going on, it's real plain and simple. A lot of record companies tell you that at the end of the day, you have the right to buy your masters back.
The really wild part? These alleged connections to the feds. Word is, both Jay and Diddy might have used their government connections to kill this union plan before it could take off. Diddy's connection supposedly traces back to his father's ties to Frank Lucas. But Jay, his reported links come through Leor Cohen and Desiree Perez, with Perez allegedly having a history as a federal informant. Now it all starts making sense, right? From Beanie's situation to DMX's complaints, from Dame's accusations to this failed union plan, it's all part of a bigger picture. When Jaguar Wright hints that Jay might be next after Diddy's situation, it makes you wonder, how deep does this power structure really go? See, this isn't just about individual artists getting played anymore. It's about systematic moves to keep control of the industry, to prevent artists from gaining real power. Those Bentleys Jay bragged about giving Beanie, looking pretty small compared to what artists could have had with real union protection and ownership of their masters. And you know, when you think about it, whenever major artists get in trouble, who's the one they run to? Jay-Z. But it's not just about Jay himself, it's about his connection to Desiree Perez and that whole network. Look at the pattern. Lil Wayne gets in trouble. He calls Jay. Meek Mill's facing problems, and suddenly Desiree's there to help. As the saying goes, if it walks like a duck, here's where it gets deeper. People keep wondering if Jay might be next after Diddy's situation, but that's missing the whole point. According to these sources, Jay isn't next because he's not a target. He's allegedly part of the system itself. Like someone said, he is them people. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, brings some serious weight to these claims. He's talking about actual paperwork at Bad Boy, showing Diddy's cooperation with the feds. And it wasn't just about random stuff. We're talking about specific moves to shut down that black-owned distribution company we were discussing earlier.
When Puff, Kirk Burroughs, that's the other person that was with them, they go up to the feds with all this paperwork, you understand? And I mentioned this before, you understand? They not only talking about the extortion stuff, they talking about how they trying to be made to have this what you call this promotion, this distribution thing. Now other people coming out talking about it. They're putting Jay-Z was a part of it. They telling their story, and it all is coincide what we said years ago, what we said on platforms before.
So Jay-Z, he told you?
Said that years ago, man. Said that years ago. What are you gonna do? They're gonna do whatever. Yo, listen to me. They're the reason why rap in New York went down the drain. They made sure that these young cats didn't come up with platforms and didn't come up with situations.
But here's the kicker. Multiple sources are now coming forward saying Jay was involved too. This isn't just random gossip. These stories line up with what industry insiders have been whispering about for years. It's like puzzle pieces finally coming together. The real tragedy? According to these sources, these moves didn't just affect individual artists. They're saying this is why New York rap lost its power. Think about it. From Beanie's situation to the failed union plan, from DMX's struggles to the current state of New York hip-hop, it's all connected to these behind-the-scenes power plays. When you look at it all together, you start to understand why Jay might have been so quick to dismiss Beanie with that two Bentleys comment. Maybe it was never about the cars or the record deals. Maybe it was about maintaining control of a much bigger system. And Jay's behavior goes way beyond Beanie Sigel and those early Rockefeller days. Even Kanye West, who was supposed to be Jay's protege, his little brother, ended up in the crosshairs. And this is Kanye we're talking about, one of the biggest artists in the world, straight up suggesting Jay could have him taken out. That's heavy.
They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Not you, man.
But they can't control me. You see, it ain't no name I won't name. It's up.
What's wild is when Kanye dropped that bomb about Jay and Beyonce being industry puppets. Remember how we were just talking about Jay being them people? Kanye's basically confirming what others have been hinting at, that there's this whole control system in place. Then you've got this Super Bowl situation with 50 Cent. It's telling how this played out. Eminem had to basically force Jay's hand by refusing to perform unless 50 was included. Think about that. It took another superstar putting his foot down to override Jay's alleged blocking moves.
Jay-Z and them was putting it together. So I think they still harbor some energy towards me.
You think you were purposely left out of the ad?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. I think that they were saying the NFL had some issues with me. That you see what I'm saying? Like there's so much G-Unit Records.
Right.
They forget that I'm in Dre's art.
But here's what makes this whole thing crazy, and 50 Cent points this out perfectly. Jay's already won. He's got the money, the legacy, the respect. He's literally a billionaire. So why is he still out here allegedly trying to block other artists' success? It's like what we saw with Beanie all over again, just on a bigger scale. This pattern keeps repeating, from Beanie to Kanye, from Dame to 50 Cent. Different stories, different eras, but the same underlying issue. It's starting to look less like coincidence and more like a systematic approach to maintaining control in the industry. 50 was exposing something really bizarre about the Super Bowl situation. Jay had been telling Eminem that the NFL had issues with 50 performing, but it didn't make any sense when 50 was literally involved with NFL team ownership. The math wasn't adding up.
Yeah, this is why I was saying I knew what Boy was doing. Right. With the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Because he was doing yeah, go ahead. He was doing some wild because he was saying that to Eminem that the NFL had the issue with me. And I'm like, well, what's the issue? Why don't I have an issue when I'm becoming a partner in the actual team? But they had an issue with my performance. Like, makes no sense.
No. I was gonna get to that later, but since we're here now. And when he says "oh boy" for the audience, then he's talking about Jay-Z. This was discussed before. Jay-Z told Dr. Dre, just for people who's not up on or Eminem, that he didn't want you to perform part of that Super Bowl they had a couple years ago. Why do you think that is?
Well, I just think,
possibly.
Not even threat. I think it's just when you take the competition from. Like, our culture is competitive, man. It is, but I think when it goes past the music itself to blocking things in business, then I don't understand that. Like right now, he's not even competing for a slot. You don't have a new song out that he want to be on the top 10 or top 5, and you still competing. So that makes sense. Like, what are we competing for? So what's the goal? Like this even like a lot of the competitive stuff, we would call it beef, right? But it changed. That terminology changed when it's Biggie and Tupac, because we start saying the things that people would say that cause beef in the environment.
Right.
When before that, they caused bad. Right. Because that's what it is until it turns into some street. So when you're not competing for those things anymore, and you start looking and you're going, so what was the problem? You can't exactly remember what the problem was. That's what went through with Joe.
This was where it got really interesting. Jay-Z, who was supposed to be this elder statesman of hip-hop, was allegedly playing these games with Dr. Dre and Eminem about 50's performance. But there was this $1 million question 50 raised. What was the actual competition? Jay wasn't dropping music. He wasn't fighting for chart positions. He was already at the top of the mountain. It was like what we had seen with Beanie Sigel all over again, just on a bigger stage. Remember how Jay had supposedly blocked Beanie's moves? Even when it didn't benefit him? Same pattern, different decade. 50 made this brilliant point about how competition in hip-hop had changed. Back in the day, beef was about music, about who was the better MC. But after Biggie and Pac, things had gotten different. We were seeing these business-level power moves that went way beyond music. This connected right back to what we were talking about earlier, those alleged connections to power players, the systematic blocking of other artists' success, the way Jay had seemed to operate behind the scenes. It wasn't just about music anymore. It was about control and power in the industry. And the craziest part, just like with Beanie, just like with Kanye, just like with so many others, there was no clear reason for it. As 50 said, tell us the goal. Because at that point, it was looking less like competition and more like straight up sabotage. 50 was making a crucial point about how the game had changed. Back then, they called it bad blood until things got street. But what he was highlighting went deeper. When you're at the top like Jay was, what was there left to compete for? It was the same question that came up with the Beanie situation. What was the real motivation behind all these moves? But then things took an even wilder turn. Just when everyone thought they'd seen it all, Jay pulled what might have been his boldest move yet, straight up denying his friendship with Diddy. This was crazy because anyone who'd been around knew better. There was literal video evidence of Diddy calling Jay his brother, his strategist, the one he called when he was in trouble. Remember that Bad Boy 20th anniversary celebration? There was Diddy, emotional and real, talking about how Jay was B.I.G.'s brother, how Jay had been there through all his ups and downs. But suddenly, when things got hot, Jay's lawyer was out there trying to rewrite history. Mr. Carter has nothing to do with Mr. Combs' case. They were trying to paint it like they were just industry acquaintances who'd bump into each other at NBA games. This move connected right back to what we'd been seeing throughout Jay's career, that pattern of distancing himself from people when things got tough. First Beanie, then Dame, then Kanye, and now even Diddy. It was the same playbook, just with bigger names and higher stakes. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Here was the same man who built his image on loyalty and brotherhood, now having his lawyers claim he barely knew someone he'd called family for decades. It was like watching the ultimate confirmation of everything Beanie and others had been saying all along. What we just witnessed with Jay's lawyer's statement, there is no closer association between any of them, was perhaps the most telling moment of all. Here was a man literally trying to erase decades of documented history, friendship, and business relationships with a few carefully worded legal statements. He doesn't know anything about the charges or allegations. It was the ultimate cold shoulder, but this was bigger than just the Diddy situation. What Beanie Sigel had been saying all those years ago suddenly carried even more weight. This wasn't just one artist's complaint anymore. It was a pattern that had repeated itself over and over again. From Beanie to Dame Dash, from Kanye to Diddy, the story remained remarkably consistent. Get close to Jay, help build something great, then watch him distance himself when it suited his needs. Looking back, Beanie's story wasn't just about one artist feeling betrayed by his mentor. It was an early warning sign of how Jay operated, a preview of what would become a recurring theme in his career. The man who once rapped about loyalty and family had developed a habit of rewriting history whenever it became inconvenient. The evidence was overwhelming. Nearly everyone who had helped Jay climb to the top had similar stories to tell. Whether it was Beanie being abandoned during his legal troubles, Dame being pushed out of Rockefeller, or now Diddy being treated like a distant acquaintance, the pattern was undeniable. In the end, maybe Beanie's biggest contribution wasn't just his music, it was being one of the first to pull back the curtain and show us who Jay really was. And as recent events proved, nothing had changed, except maybe the stakes had gotten higher. The same tactics Jay reportedly used to hold back male rappers? Word is, he's been doing the same thing to protect Beyoncé's position in the industry. Think about it. How many promising female artists have mysteriously disappeared or had their momentum suddenly stop after getting too close to the power couple? Industry insiders have been whispering about how female artists who start gaining too much buzz suddenly find their projects delayed, their features canceled, or their opportunities drying up. It's like what happened with Beanie Sigel, but now it's happening to any female artist who might potentially overshadow Beyoncé. Remember how we talked about Jay's alleged strategic moves to block artists' success? Sources say the same blueprint is being used to maintain Beyoncé's dominance. Young talents get brought into their circle, given a taste of success, then suddenly find themselves facing mysterious industry obstacles. Sound familiar? Some point to how certain collaborations with rising female stars mysteriously never see the light of day, or how promising artists who get too close to their circle often find their careers taking unexpected turns. It's that same pattern we saw with Jay's male artists, just with a different target. The really wild part, just like with Jay's situation, it's happening when Beyoncé's already at the top. She's literally one of the biggest stars in the world, yet apparently, they're still working overtime to make sure no new talent can rise too high. It's that same insecurity we saw in Jay's dealings with Beanie and others, now playing out on a different stage. And just like before, it's not about music anymore. It's about power and control. Only now, it's about maintaining not just Jay's position, But Beyonce's throne too. The game might look different, but the plays remain the same. So what do you think? Comment down below and let us know. If you like this video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I post updates like this every week, where I uncover the secrets of your favorite celebrities.